Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast, the weekly edition in our off-season sort of content. You've all seemed to be loving it. You're all tuning in, which really do appreciate you guys for doing so. Make sure, again, you always hit that hit that like and subscribe button. Show us the love on the social media side of things. And again, everyone is out there been listening to it. If you haven't yet, go and listen to your team's season review and a couple of the others. There's really some good content out there regarding all our season previews, and it's taken us quite some time and quite a few weeks to get it all done, but it's all completed now. They'll be up, and the final episodes are released by Friday morning, so just make sure you go over and check it out, whether it's YouTube, you can watch the episode live, or you can go and listen to it on or wherever you listen to your podcast. We've got the boys in the house tonight. Bounce. You already know what it's about. Trav, welcome back. It's good to see you once again. That mo is getting better and better.
It's delicious, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one word for it. Jake, your mo is there, I think.
It exists. It's just.
I think the screen's blurry.
In my mind.
It's pixelated.
Yeah, the screen's blurry. You just can't see it.
Oh no, it's good to have you again, Jake. There it is. There, up close. There, we finally can see the caterpillar. So. It doesn't help you that you got a bit of light hair on the light skin, so it just blends in as one. You need to, like, next time you're on, like next week, color it in with like permanent marker or something so it stands out. So everyone go, oh yeah, there's the mo, there's the mo. Let's get straight into it. We love to just get right into it with these episodes. We're going to obviously talk about rumours, signings, and basically anything else news related that's happened throughout the week. First up, pretty big one. The Fox Josh Addo-Carr has landed at the Eels. Was rumoured sort of early to mid last week, and then finally got the deal done at the start of this week. It has got a lot of people talking about the Eels and their backline now moving forward, becoming probably one of the weakest in the comp to arguably some are saying one of the stronger sort of backlines in the competition. And from a Parramatta fan point of view, that's a welcome breath of fresh air for myself, because I've been quite critical of our backline for a couple of years now, even with the grand final year, that I just thought we had a backline that overachieved that year, and it just sort of hasn't been that great for a while. So I've asked the boys to do a little bit of homework and let me know their 1 to 5, so fullback through to the wingers and the centers, that your backline would be starting for next year's competition or basically full strength lineup. Jake, you're the Para fan, so let us know your thoughts around the Josh Addo-Carr signing first of all. And then let us know your 1 to 5 backline.
I'm actually quite a fan of this signing. I think that the Parramatta have been very shrewd, more so than they have been in other seasons, where they kind of have mitigated the risk a little bit. You know, it's technically a 2-year signing, but it's a 1-year deal with our option if he's doing well. So there's heaps of clauses in there for behavior and for performance and stuff like that. So realistically, he's going to be on his. I think he's going to be on his best behavior. Like, he's got a young son. He's a role model kind of thing, and he's made a mistake, and I'm happy to give him a second chance. And he's got talent. He's only 29 years old. Like, he's still got heaps of. He adds heaps to a team for sure. Energy, things like that. So to me, I actually quite like the signing. I know a lot of people are very critical of it. And it comes with risks. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but I'd say that Parramatta have actually done quite a good job in the way that they've handled it and the way that they've signed it. And I liked that Jim Sarantinos came out and actually backed him publicly, like explained sort of the process that they went through, like talking to him and stuff like that, which is something that is a bit rare and that he sort of hasn't done a bit more, but it is a bit of a controversial signing. But I like that, he came out and he actually stood up and sort of stood up behind the club's decision, which I liked. But I think it's a very good signing overall.
It's a funny one. First, we'll do the quick discussion first around the signing, and then we'll get into our 1 to 5s. It's sort of what you're saying is right. Trav, I'll get you first because you're not the fan here, but you had Addo-Carr probably, in my opinion, we've seen the best of Addo-Carr at the Storm. That was his pinnacle so far, in my opinion, in his career, and may be the pinnacle overall once his career finishes. What do you think of the signing?
There's two thoughts here. The first one is, if you're just taking Addo-Carr as the player, I love it. Like, Addo-Carr is still a premier winger in the competition. He provides everything that you guys need: leadership, star power, that jovial dude in the locker room that I think that Parramatta needs, and I think he'll bring that. So yeah, in terms of just purely a player signing, I love it. On the other side, I hate it. I think anyone that has their contract ripped up from one club because of something so substantial as what he's done should not be allowed to sign anywhere else, and I think that's absolute rubbish. And so I've got my opinion on that side of it too. I think Parramatta have done a good job in terms of having their get out clauses if stupid things happen again, and that was very smart of them, and well done to play that field and do those things and make sure they've got themselves covered for what potentially could happen. So yeah, all around there, I think Parramatta did their due diligence. I think they're smart with that. I think it's a great signing for that. But yeah, I really don't think that he should be allowed to sign anywhere else after he's had his contract ripped up, torn to shreds, thrown in the bin, and said, we don't want you anymore because you did this. I don't think he should be allowed to go anywhere else. I have a very steadfast rule about that in my head.
It's funny. I'm literally going to, and it's good where I'm sitting here for the YouTube viewers. I'm right in the middle of these two, and this is where I'm sitting on this signing because I agree with points that Travis said, and I also agree with points that Jake has said, and I'm sort of mixing it all together into one and presenting you with my cake. So please eat it, boys. It's a good one. But in my opinion, I just sort of it doesn't sit right with me, and that's for what Trav's saying. Those sorts of points that he got sacked for doing something illegal. Like we obviously see in the Ezra Mam situation how that ended. That could have been Josh Adokar if he was driving under the influence and things like that. That's a very, very serious offense, in my opinion. And there's people out there that have probably had victims in some way, shape, or form of someone either drink driving to whatever extent, and it's just or drug driving, and it's just not. It's not something we should be doing, and it's not something I think we should be just accepting in our game. That's the big thing for me is the game needs to stop just going, oh, yeah, we'll give them a chance, and it's up to us to fix these guys. It's up to if they don't have the game, they're lost. Okay, well, they should have known that before they did this. I'm not a footy player, and I know not to go out and do that stuff. And they get a lot of stuff done with. There's a lot of education for them on a week-to-week basis these days in the day and age of this game and the pressure that the clubs are on to make sure their players behave, that it's just inexcusable. Like, this stuff is so inexcusable. And the thing that didn't sit well with me the most was that Josh lied about it and basically continued the lie. If you do that, own it. Say, I've stuffed up, I've made a huge mistake. And as you said, Jake, he's a father. He needs to think about that stuff and be that leader. And yet, on paper, he's a leader. But these recent actions for me show that he's not a leader yet. He's still one of the kids in the school or in the club for this sort of thing. And that's a bit of a worry. And the good thing from a Parramatta point of view, so Para fans don't freak out, I've been basically assured that there was a lot of due diligence when it came to this signing. There's a lot of stuff done in terms of looking after Josh's background, how he was acting, all that sort of thing, what he's like at clubs. Obviously not regarding that last couple of months at the Dogs, but before, all that sort of stuff. They've done a lot of their background, the homework. There's a lot of chat with roles and meetings with the board and stuff. They've laid down the law. It's the best thing for the club is it's a club option, which I don't remember, honestly, Jake. I don't know if you can. The last player that had a club option, it felt like it's always been the player option for years now, and it's finally, and it's funny. It's a big name, so to speak. Where got the power for once, and that as a fan gives me a lot of confidence. Going, okay, well, at least hopefully Josh does know that if he stuffs up here, he's done. Yeah. Like, he has to be done. So. Yeah, I can see both. I'm in a way excited because we need that sort of speed in our backline. We've just been too slow for years now, and it actually just became frustrating to watch. And our defensive style just didn't suit our backline whatsoever. So it's good to see now that relationship's unfolded, and we'll just see what happens there with the signing. But yeah, I agree with both of what you're saying.
Can I add something into what you guys were saying before? I do, in terms of the side of the getting away with it and that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong. I agree that the NRL should absolutely be doing more about that. But that's for the NRL And like that's actually, I think, for the NRL to decide to deregister a contract. A club can't necessarily do, the Bulldogs did what they could in terms of ripping up his contract, but the NRL have to say that he can't sign with somebody else. So to be fair, if a club sees a bargain buyer like that, they're not going to not try to pounce on it, in my opinion. Like, I think I agree that the NRL should do better in terms of that, but at the same time, that isn't like the clubs shouldn't be punished in the sense that if he's still available, why would you not?
Oh yeah, and we're not arguing that at all.
Yeah.
As I said, like, and the Parramatta have made the right choice to pick him. And if you can get him, get him. I just don't think he should have been an option. I just don't think that should have even been an option.
Yeah, that's totally
and it feels like, in a way, it's the Bulldogs have been punished in this whole situation. Like, they've popped at the most. They've lost a staff winger in a way.
Yep.
And what have they got to show for it? For actually, in my opinion, doing the right thing, handling this situation the right way. Feels like they lost Skelton before this happened.
Yep.
So they lost probably the next choice. I know they've found Montoya, but I'm not being disrespectful here, but Montoya is not either one of those two players, in my opinion. There might be people there that shoot that down, but I think either Skelton or Josh Adokar would have been better than having Montoya there on the wing. And it just feels like, in a way, the Dogs have got punished for doing the right thing. It's just a weird one, but
that's right. And the wrong person and the wrong group or the wrong person or whatever you want to say has received the consequence instead of the one who actually did the crime has not been punished. To face value to what information we've been provided, we don't know if there has been any other consequences that Adokar has been given. But at the end of the day, the one person that's been given a consequence is the club that got rid of him because he did the wrong thing. And now have a look. Josh Adokar just moves over to the next pay packet and plays rugby again. Like it's ridiculous. It's a really shitty rule. I'm sorry to swear there, but it is. It's just, it really pisses me off that this happens. Like, in our careers, you're in education, Jake, we do something illegal. We have our contract ripped up. I can't just move to another school and go, hey, let's, I'll just get transferred and I'm sweet to go. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Yet they can just slide on through and just keep going. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a weird taste. Definitely leaves a different taste. And again, credit to the club. I guess it is a good signing for the Parramatta side of things, and it's one that hasn't got many risks involved with it at all. Jake, what's your 1 to 5 to start the year next year for the Eels?
I'll tell you that you won't agree with this, Joel. I'll start off with saying that. So I have Wyongi at the back, and I think most of you sort of will have that, and that's fine. I've got Adokar on a wing. I've got Lomax on the other wing. Penasini in a center, and the other center I have is Bailey Simonson. That's the one I know you won't agree with. Personally, I thought that the other ones all speak for themselves. Adokar's a winger. We just signed him. He's going to play on the wing potentially. Actually, to be fair, he's missing the first 4 games, but I'm just counting our strongest back five.
3 games.
3, is it? Sorry, yeah.
You already served one with the Dogs,
right? And then the other wing, obviously, I'd say Lomax is obviously career best form. You can talk about this all day, but he's in career best form on the wing. And we've seen that he is a winger and he should play there. But I know he doesn't want to, and I know this isn't what's going to happen. But this is my personal best 5, and I just think that Simonson does a better job. He's more solid when he's in the centers and has someone defending outside of him. Like, I just think that he defends better in there. He runs hard and he still has a pass in him. Maybe he might not have that sort of superstar like flip pass or something that Lomax might have, but he also doesn't need to, I don't think. With Lomax outside of him, he can do the work on his own, or Adokar outside of him. That's my back 5.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. For mine, similar. I've got Wyongi at the back, obviously. I've got Fox and Simonson as my wingers. I heard Simonson in an interview saying he will be right and ready to go for round 1. He said he might need maybe a couple of weeks in New South Wales Cup just to be ready and the confidence back in. But he said he reckons if he's picked, he should be good. And then I've got Lomax and Will Penasini in the centers. So I think it's similar, Jake. Obviously, just that slight change in terms of where Simonson plays. And Lomax, I just think Lomax is signed there for center. I think he'll go back to center. And I get the Simonson thing, but I also think he's shown last year glimpses of being a very good winger as well and playing with that hard. And he's got that bit of speed coming back into it. I know it's going to be hard now with the injury, but we'll just see what happens. And I think on paper, that's quite a good backline for what we had probably this time about 3 or 4 months ago. So, Trav, you've heard those two back lines. Do you want to add anything to that, or do you want to just cast your verdict around how I guess the back line, they're both pretty similar. I guess the only question you might have to answer is where would you play Lomax and Bailey Simonson?
I'm only going to play Lomax where I've heard that he signed his contract for and what he wants to do, because that's what you've got him over there for, and you've got to keep him happy. So he's going to centres, and that's where he's going to be. So look after your man and put him there. So I actually also will curtail on Joel's opinion around Simonson. I actually thought what a lot of the stuff I saw from Simonson this year on the wing was really nice. So I'd keep him out on the wings. Yeah. I have the only real concern I've got, I actually like the four, Addo-Carr, Penasini, Lomax, and Simonson, and think that's or Simonson, whatever you want to say, is actually a really nice four. The only concern I've got is Ioane as a fullback. And he's got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he's got king size shoes to fill.
One thing with Ioane, I suppose, is and we are all assuming he'll start, and I think he will. But we also did sign another young guy named Josh Papali'i, and I think some clubs it doesn't work, but I'm a big fan of having a rivalry and competition for a spot. And I think as long as both of them know that they have a chance at that spot, if they play well enough, that I think it keeps them hungry. And I think that that's a benefit to us. It can only be a benefit to us, kind of thing, to have that, like them both competing for that spot. And I've only seen his highlights, and I haven't even watched Ioane's game in that Panthers team against the Knights this year. But I saw his stat line. I know he didn't score or get an assist, but he did run for like about 250, 260 meters. And I've gone, I mean, if you're running, that's what we needed. That's what Gutho is doing every game. So if you want to be able to sort of fill those shoes, you need to be hitting those kinds of high meters. So that impressed me.
Yeah. Moving on. Another big signing news that happened this week was Terrell May signing with the West Tigers. A good move for the West Tigers, in my opinion. Very much needed, sort of added forward. I wouldn't say depth. He's going to be definitely a starter, but in terms of just bigger sort of number to the side. I'm glad he went to the Tigers, because I think that really is an added sort of bonus that the Tigers do need, just to get that added bit of confidence. They've got this guy who, in my opinion, was freakish this year. I thought I had him in probably the top 8 sort of props this year in the competition, and he can play big minutes, which will help the West Tigers a lot, because I think they've got maybe 2 at a stretch, 3 good front row options this year, and then it sort of drops off quite a bit and quite rapidly. So if you can push Terrell May to play some more of those bigger minutes, it helps who you need to play for sort of certain minutes as well. Trav, let us know your thoughts around this Terrell May signing.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's a bit polarizing. It's quite concerning that the Roosters just up and said, "Yep, okay, off you go. We're happy for you to sign somewhere else," which I think is a bit of a concern. So there has to be something there. But at the end of the day, like, there's all the news that's come out and everything that's spoken is that Terrell May is nothing like his family, or nothing like some of the reputation that surrounds him, and that he's actually a good fella. And so you got to take that for face value and go from there. And I really, really like it. He's still 25. He's only 25 years old, but he's played 57 games. So he's still raw. He's still young, but he's ready and fit to go. And I think they got him for a good price too. It's like about $600K or something. So I actually think that's a good price for the next 3 years. I think you're right, Joel, as well, in that it does help with their depth. One thing that West Tigers happened this year particularly was, as soon as one player got injured, it was a shitstorm. It was, who's going to play, had dudes out of position, playing spots that they weren't supposed to or not normally play, because their list power was low. So I think this is going to free up a lot of like the likes of Fainu, Pole, and a few other guys, I think, that's still there. So yeah, I really like this. I think it's good value. And as you said, he is an 80-minute forward who he has potential to be an 80-minute forward. He can't do that all year. You're not going to have him do that all year, but when you really need him to do 3 or 4 weeks of it, he'll do it, and he can, and he showed for the Roosters that he can, and then you give him a 40-50 game for a few weeks after that, and then pump him again. Like he's that short fire, play him long minutes and go and just go and beat people up, and he's a good player.
Yeah, Jake, what are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, well, I agree with everything Trav said. I'll add one thing that I think sort of maybe wasn't mentioned is, and this is something that Tigers desperately lack or have lacked in the past 2 or 3 seasons, is a winning mentality.
Mm.
So they're getting across Luai, they're getting across Royce Hunt, who have been part of successful teams over the last 2 or 3 years, who win. Sorry, Taruva, of course, over at the Panthers. They're bringing over players who have been part of winning cultures and will bring that. But when they brought over Coruscant, it was basically just him on his own, and I think that they thought maybe he could bring that to everyone. But I don't think that it sort of ended up happening that way because he tried his heart out, but everyone didn't come with him. I think adding 4 or 5 blokes with that will help to actually boost the rest of the squad around them. And Terrell May is one of them. He's the one who you look to if everyone's dead tired and everyone's wrecked, like Trav was saying. He's the one you look to say, I'll take that hit up. I'll get us out of this danger here. That's what I'll do for the team. And he has that in him. I think that it's, I pretty much, as long as he doesn't have any issues, obviously the issues in that with his family and that, and like you're saying, as long as there's nothing wrong with that, I can see nothing wrong with this signing. I think it's a great signing for them. It's exactly what they needed. They needed size and they needed that firepower in the middle to help Luai go ahead, and they pounced on it, like a tiger. They pounced on an opportunity.
Oh, I love what you've done there, Jake. That's the teacher coming out in you. That's a good one. While you're ready to pounce, I'll pounce and address the elephant in the room. That is why the Roosters have let this kid go. In my opinion, he's one of, if not the brightest sort of young forwards coming through in the competition, and showed this year for the Roosters, especially now they've lost Jared Hargraves, that he was huge, especially whenever they had a 1 or 2 forwards short, he'd have stepped up and played his role perfectly, in my opinion. Now, there's rumours around. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not from the Rooster side of things, but it seems to be almost common knowledge now in a way that he basically said to the Roosters he's not too sure how much longer he'll play, if he's even committed to the game itself. He's not really all quite there in terms of being all in, and the Roosters felt like they're at a stage where they don't want players like that, and then almost gave him straight away, said, off you go, you can look elsewhere and find a new club that is happy to have that approach. Now, that's where it then swings around, because you go, all right, the Roosters are the Roosters. We know what the Roosters are like. They don't accept failure. They don't accept mediocrity at all, and they don't want to be finishing last ever. They want to avoid that as much as possible. So from their club, totally understand their way of thinking. I still think it's crazy to let go of that sort of skillful play, but it just shows you their club values. And we always talk about culture. It seems to be a huge word in the game at the moment. Clubs wanting to build that culture. The Roosters have stuck to their culture, and I've got to applaud them for that. As much as I reckon this would have been extremely tough to do because of the quality. And we always say that in terms of teams, would they do it for a quality player? The Roosters have shown that they would. Now, for the West Tigers, though, they're in a completely different ballgame. They're struggled now for years on end. Haven't played finals football since almost, I think it's 2010 was the last time. So it's almost been 15 years. 2011. So, okay, 14 years. It's still a hell of a long time. And they're just in a position now where they need to build. They need to build something, start going strong. And they can probably afford to have someone there for a 2-3 year period who's going to play like he has sort of this year. Risk the fact that he might not always be all in, but he'll still produce probably more than what you've currently been producing on the field. So I think both parties have won this in a weird way. The Roosters got rid of their, player they didn't think was all in, and the Tigers have gained a really good quality front row forward, which they clearly needed, especially since Stefano moved away. I want to ask you boys one question quickly. If Stefano Udakamano came off contract right now and was on the market, and so was Terrell May, who would you sign? Because I'm going to say right now, I would sign Terrell May.
Terrell as well for me.
What about you, Trav?
I said Stefano.
I think this is the Tigers have won the lottery with this signing, because they've lost Stefano. And I reckon if the Storm had their way right now, out of the two, they would have chosen Terrell May.
Maybe. I think that's tough. That's a tough one, only for the fact that I think, like you're saying, the Roosters were very, like that's why we don't want you. If that is the case of why it was, it's so hard to tell because they won't let anything go. But of that, like, if you're not 100% committed, we won't want you. The Storm are going to be the same. They would not bring anyone in. They're such a professional unit. They wouldn't bring anyone in that they wouldn't be 100% sure. And Stefano said, like, I'm in here and I want to improve. And I think you'll find at the end of this year, if we ask the same question, at the end of 2025, if we ask the same question, I think you'll find we would all say Stefano. Once he's been in that Storm team for a year, every single one of us is going to say we would have picked Stefano, based on what's going to happen when he goes into that system. I think it's going to be huge.
Tigers effect.
Very possibly. Very possibly.
Sorry,
yeah,
Tigers
I think definitely Terrell May at the moment is who I would have picked, like, purely on field. 100%.
With in regards to the Melbourne Storm, Trav, a bit happening around your club in terms of Ryan Pappenhausen. There was rumours going around about the fact that he would be almost a certainty going to the Bulldogs, and basically now it's coming out the rumours around that the Melbourne Storm are almost certain to extend his contract for at least 1 year. Give him that option. Obviously, that now probably invokes, if it is true, the Sewer release clause, which I've been told is true. Who knows where that's going to go? But I mean, one door closes, another one opens for the Melbourne Storm now, and another player to deal with. And is Sewer going to sit there as a second option for another year? Not too sure. But Trav, first of all, I'm sure you're happy about Ryan Pappenhausen. And then a little bit, yeah. Go on.
You good? Oh, sorry.
Go on.
I'm happy. Every year that I can have Pappy, I'm happy. I really, he's a club favourite. He's a cult figure at the club. We all love him. We all know how good he is, and even with a slower step, he's still a premier fullback in the competition. I'm excited about that. I'm not too. Look, I still don't play in it. I'm sitting here listening as a Melbourne supporter fan, talking and listening to the New South Wales media around what happens here is hilarious, and I'm not going to buy into it. And I've just sat there and watched and listened to all the rubbish that's happened as they all try to make stories, as they continuously try to do with us. And that's what they've done for the last few weeks around what's going on with Pappenhausen. Everyone seems to forget just only a few days ago, or no, last week, Pappenhausen came back and said, I'll have it done before the season starts next year. So everybody just relax, basically. But it didn't happen, and the media came out straight away and made another story out of it and said, Bulldogs, he's going to the Bulldogs straight off a couple of things that he was saying. So, yeah, I look, and I don't buy into all that rubbish. I haven't bought into it at all. Yeah, I love it.
The media don't just do it to the Storm, though. There's a lot of rumours out there.
They freaking do it. They do it mostly to the Storm. They love making it.
Hang on. Paris' name has been run through the mud in that. Basically, we've been connected to every single player off contract in the last 12 months. So take a pick down our part. Like I know you're big on this, Trav. I know you're very big on this, but one thing I'll say is that he's only re-signed for another year, if the rumours are correct. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there's got to be something there. There's got to be something.
The end of 2026. Well, it's that model. It's that comment that I made about a month ago that you tried to call me out and then rang me straight after the podcast about what am I talking about? Like, and here it is again. So there was a little bit of something that I said that was right, but look, it's that end of 2026 model. Grant's out of it, Hughes is out of it, but obviously the key one is Bellamy's out of it. So out of 2026. So it'll be interesting to see over the next. Well, yeah, you don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens over the next 12 months, because a lot of this will be answered by the end of next year, and I think it'll depend on what happens by the end of next year. And if we win it next year, that may potentially change a whole nother outlook on what happens and what we do. So, yeah, but it's just a bit of an odd feeling when there's so many of our players coming out of contract in the same year and people are extending. Like Grant just only a few weeks ago extended till the end of 2026, so he did 1 year as well. Now we've got Pappy who's done it. Hughes has already been, like, he was signed and finished at the end of 2026. Bellamy redid it this during the year to be at the end of 2026. We've got Coates, Warbrick, Blore, that list of players coming out of contract at a 2026 and extending to then is a little concerning, but it is what it is. I'll take 2 premierships and let them all go in the next 2 years.
That's quite a list. Jake, the Paps news, obviously potentially staying there with the club for another year. And then what that has to do with Sua Fa'alongo as well.
I think it's interesting that they would only sign him for 1 year. I figured what they would do is if they were going to pick one of the two, because you have the release clauses that you were sort of talking about there, Joel, I think if they were going to pick one of the two, I would have assumed that they'd sign the longer deal, like 3 years, 4 years. Because if Paps only stays for 1 year and decides he wants to go, but Fa'alongo leaves sometime this year because he's gone, right, you've re-signed Paps. The only reason I would say maybe they haven't done that is because they want to keep them together for 1 year and they've kind of gone, righto, you're going to stay here for 1 more year. Fa'alongo, you're in after that kind of thing. And maybe from there, I don't know. It's a weird one. Like you said, Trav, that so many people are coming off contract in 2026. So I think it's a good signing. You're not going to sign. No team's going to sign Pappenhausen and say it's a bad signing. Maybe he's trying to have 1 year injury free kind of thing, like 1 good year injury free, and then try to see if he can up his value maybe instead of before he signs like a big long year deal. But I don't know. It's just a weird one for me. It isn't like there's so much talk about it, and it's just be a 1 year deal, and then it comes up all again next year. It's like, I don't know, a bit strange.
I mean, if Trav doesn't like the noise around his club now, wait this time in 12 months' time when you've got half your list coming. When you've got half your list coming off, there's going to be stories galore about your club. So you better get
we're used to it anyways. We're used to it.
I'll tell you what, though, I think you make a good point here, Jake, because this is really, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to spin stuff here or create stories or unnecessary drama, but they've invoked now the release clause for Sua. He can start talking to clubs right now if he ends up leaving. I don't think he'll sit around for another year. I don't think he can't. Like, that's 2 more years. He's going to just sit around and play what? 5, maybe 10 at most games in the year. He's ready to start. He's ready to be that week in, week out fullback, in my opinion. And I agree with what you're saying, Jake. I feel like if they were going to keep Pappy and invoke this and get this all happening, you extend him for 3 years. You extend him for a while and go, all right, so see you later. I just think it's that playing with fire a little bit. I know the Storm are very good at what they do, but it just feels like on face value, playing with a little bit of fire in that. Trav, you can have the last say here. I know you're just sitting there all smugly, just like, yeah, whatever. We know what we're doing.
I'm just not fussed. And look, nothing's actually confirmed at all. So we don't know. There was talks, like as you said 2 days ago, he was bloody signing with the Bulldogs and off he was going. And now just today, this news comes up as a rumor of what's going on. So until the Storm come out and say what's going on, I'm not going to play in that field. I have no problems with it. I don't even know if the Sua. I mean, you said to me ages ago on a podcast that you've got good authority to say that Sua has a clause. I haven't heard, other than just rumors. I haven't heard whether that's officially or not. So I'd love to know whether that is, and I'd love to see it as to whether that's actually real. I think Sua's a Melbourne boy. Sua, that's where his family is. That's where he's found. He's still only 20 years old. 2 years means he's only going to be 21, turning 22 by the time he becomes a potential full-time starter. It's still like he can still sit there. It's not like he's on a crappy little rookie contract either. So I don't see a problem with him for that and what's going on. So yeah, until the official stuff comes out, I'm just going to sit here and be smug.
Fair enough. More rumor. Yeah, you go. You smug beep. The Hunt rumors are around again. It doesn't stop this Ben Hunt noise in this story. I just wish you would hurry up and just finish. I'm getting a bit over dealing with this story. But Roosters apparently have become red hot favourites to sign him. That's after a week or two ago saying he needed to go home and go back to Queensland. No idea what the hell's going on anymore. All I know and can probably say out of this is it seems like him and the Dragons clearly relationship fizzled out very, very badly. He just simply that just dissolved rapidly. So not good to see there, but moved on. The Dragons in the end have got really nothing for him. They've released him and they haven't got a halfback now. They're struggling. They should have organised some sort of like player swap out of it, something. I don't know. But like, yep, they've freed some money out. But you look at their team on paper at the moment and there's a glaring hole when it comes to their halves. And we all know this day and age, you cannot win a comp or go near winning a comp without a good spine intact, a good 6 and 7. So who knows what's happening there. But the Roosters, boys, if they do get him, I think it's a good signing, obviously, with the Sam Walker news. I think he'll start at halfback for the Roosters. Work with maybe Sandon Smith. It's a weird one. I think Chad Townsend is just, I don't know, everyone's forgotten about him. He's just going to stay in reserve grade after thinking, I've got a good chance to start here this year. And then once Sam Walker comes back, I have a feeling there'll be some chatter around Ben Hunt going back to hooker. And we've seen him play that in rep football. I think that might be the way, unless Sandon Smith isn't going great guns, and they might start to play Ben Hunt in a 5'8" sort of role, which I think he's got actually a pretty good running game, so that might suit him as well. But Jake, what are your thoughts around the Ben Hunt to the Roosters? Do you like it? Does it make sense?
I don't know. It is a weird one. The thing he has going for him is that he can play hooker. I think that's definitely something that would make it a bit more of a shiny kind of signing for them. Because if he was just only able to sort of play in the halves, I would say to myself it wouldn't make sense. Because I know you've got Sam Walker injured, but he will come back halfway through the season. You've got Sandon Smith, and they have, like you said, signed Chad Townsend. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. They probably have some younger halves coming through as well and stuff like that. So it's a bit, it's not strange. It makes sense as like injury cover for Sam Walker for the first half of the season. And then I think I'd say you're probably right. They'd either start him at hooker and then sub Brandon Smith on, or potentially Brandon Smith just goes in to play that second row kind of role. I'm not really sure what they do, but
if reports are correct that Brandon Smith won't be there much longer, they're trying to desperately. Well, the word is to get rid of him. So,
yeah, well, that is true as well. So then I suppose if he isn't there, then that's maybe why they are trying to kind of get Ben across.
Which fuels that fire even more, because you wouldn't just basically put all your eggs in the kind of Watson basket to play all year at hooker. That just is a very silly move to going off who they've already lost for next year. So
but you don't want him to either. He's too bloody good to be a hooker.
Who's that?
He's too good. The way he played this year, you don't want him to play hooker. You'd lose everything that you off kind of Watson that he's done this year that was like that got him into Origin. You're going to lose.
I'd say that he's a perfect utility. He actually kind of needs to be coming off the bench to bring in and that injection of energy like he does. And so, yeah, to be honest with you, if they are going to get rid of Brandon Smith, which is obviously just conjecture at the moment, so it's impossible to sort of say, but if that's kind of the goal, then I'd say the Ben Hunt signing makes perfect sense. And I think it does, and it does make sense, and especially at the beginning to cover for Sam Walker, like he's injured for such a long amount of time. Like it's a big ACL injury that he did. It was ACL, right?
Yeah.
He did a massive injury. I know that. So yeah, he's out for a long time. So is Brandon Smith. So either way they decide to use him, he will be used kind of in a role that he's familiar with, and I think it makes complete sense. They have a war chest at the moment. They lost so many players. They have the money to do it. Why not? Even if they sign in 2 years.
Funnily enough, there'll still be the signing happens and they announce that there'll still be sombrero comments, and which is crazy because look at what they've lost. It's like you feel like they've got about $4 million to spend at the moment. It's actually very scary. So much money to spend. Trav, your thoughts? There's been a lot of nodding from your end over the last little bit for Ben Hunt. What are your thoughts?
My nodding was to you about how much I'm a bit over the whole saga and what he's doing. I'm over it.
Here we are again.
Enough. And here we are. Yeah, that's right. Here we are again. And I feel like we'll be doing this again in another month's time, and then we'll do it again at halfway through next year, and then we'll do it again at the end of next freaking year. Like it's just what we seem to want to do. It's how he wants to play the field, Ben. But I feel for the Dragons. I really do. I really feel for them, and I think what he's doing is really selfish and really crappy. for that club and how he's wanting to leave, and I really feel for them. In terms of if we just take this comment or this question as it is, I really like the signing for the Roosters. They really need him. They do. They really need him. They've got Walker not playing for most of the year, if not all of it. Like a proper ruptured ACL is a 12-month injury. Even in today's day and age of medicine and stuff like that, it's a proper 12-month injury. He did it 2 weeks out of the season. So, he's got almost to the end of the year next year. So you're going to have a long time to not have him. And then as we know, history says that, coming back from an ACL is quite difficult in the first 12 months. I think this signing for Ben Hunt for the Roosters is a no-brainer. There's the ability there because at the end of the day, Ben Hunt's still a freaking good player. So all the baggage and crap that he's got, he's still a very good player. So, you want him to be there at that halfback spot. I actually agree with you too, Joel. I think he would play nicely in that 5'8" if Sam Walker comes through. And to be honest, it'd be almost a bit of like that double halfback role if Walker does come through, because he'll still be a bit of a liability coming off that injury. So I reckon that might play it. And then, as you said, Brandon Smith in the hooker spot, Ben Hunt, Jake, as you said as well, like Ben Hunt can go and play the hooker and be a bloody good hooker. So, I think the opportunity for him in all spots just plugs all the different holes and answers that the Roosters really need, because as you both said, there's a lot of boys leaving. So he answers a lot of those big plays.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. So, it definitely makes sense, and it's such a Roosters signing. I feel like that's the big thing out of this. It's very much perfectly timed and swooping into a player that desperately wanted to go home to Queensland and stay around now for probably 2 years to stay in Sydney for 2 more years. Let's have a chat quickly just about apparently there's a meeting tomorrow or today when you guys are listening to this one for the New South Wales Blues, the coaching role, the board are getting together, whether it's to make a final decision. Not completely sure, that hasn't really been put out there, but there is a big conference a big meeting for all the power brokers there. Made me think who's going to be the New South Wales coach. There's a couple around names are floating around: Matt King, Laurie Daly, maybe Brad Fittler's coming back. You've got Mick Ennis has popped up. And for mine, the worry is that no one's stepping up. There's no standout candidates in my opinion. Now Brian Smith's put his hand up, and he has been in coaching now for 20 years or something. I don't know. It's just it's an odd one. I feel like Madge's really stuffed the Blues in a way, because it's set up so nicely to be next year. Awesome, done. Let's just keep the ball rolling. The talk is Matt King might be just ahead because he was part of that camp this year and he's seen what happened, and he can basically just keep the wheels going with what happened there this year for the Blues. But again, he doesn't really have any coaching credentials. But again, Queenslanders are probably saying neither did Billy Slater. So, Jake, your thoughts around this? Who do you think would be the standout candidate for the Blues?
I think there is no standout candidate, like you said. When it was going around that Madge was going to be the coach, everyone went, we want Madge as the coach. That's pretty clear cut. He's who we want. It was super easy. I don't know. I saw a few. For me, I think I'd like to see Laurie Daly get another crack. I think when he was coaching them, the era that he was coaching was the toughest era to be a New South Wales Blues coach. You're coming up against GI, Thurston, Slater, Cronk, Smith, all the big names for a good, that was their big run. And I know that,
average 10.
maybe that's tainted his, the image of him as a coach. I don't know. But I think it would be good to let him have another crack with the current New South Wales Blues roster being what it is. At the same time, I don't know if I can see that happening because he has those affiliations with the gambling. Is it? I don't know which one it is. It's Tab. I think it's Tab.
Verlandis has come out today and approved it. So he said there won't be a conflict there, and he will allow, if the Blues want to go that way, for Laurie Daly to be coach.
So I'd say he's my leading contender with potentially, like you said, Matt King, for the fact that he saw what Madge did and hopefully could replicate or do something similar in terms of what he did with them. But yeah, it's such a hard one. This one, there's no clear cut. But I'm going to say I want to see Laurie Daly have a redemption. I want to see him have redemption to sort of give him an opportunity to prove that he can coach and that it was pretty unlucky just the people that he came up against with the teams that he had.
What about the Matt King storyline from Garbo all the way up to New South Wales coach? What a story that is. You can literally just dream big, guys, out there, because you can achieve anything. He started. Remember the stories? He was a Garbo at the start of his basic career, and he's now look. That's incredible. I actually love that. Trav, who is your standout for the Blues? Even though you don't care, you're sitting there so happy at the moment.
Right out of my mouth.
You know there's no one out there that stands out. You're going, how good is this?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I am. I'm sitting there going, what are you Muppets doing? Seriously, why is it so freaking hard? My question is...
no one.
Yeah, well, but there is, though. There is. Like, I even saw Brett Kamali's name get thrown out today. Like, there's all these ex-players that would be really good spots, and then who would do a good job. I don't see why this is such a hard bloody decision and why it's taken so long. I don't understand the rubbish and the rigmarole that's been going on here. And I get the comment that you said about Madge signing for the Broncos has stuffed everyone, but really has it? Like, he's actually laid the foundation for the person to step in and just literally copy him. Like, just copy exactly what he did. And the foundations is set. So you just got to get someone to go and do that and build relationships with the players. I don't understand why this is such a big deal. I like the call of what you said with Laurie Daly. I actually was coming in here and was going to say that myself. I think he was pretty hard done by as the coach of New South Wales against that team. And I think he deserves another chance. My question is why, as I said to you, why are none of these guys putting their hands up?
I think we're starting to get a bit overexcited when it comes to past players. And I still think you need an element of coaching and being a coach to take these jobs on. Billy is Billy. Billy's a freak. Billy is everyone you talk to, everyone that talks about him, everything you listen to, was the probably smartest rugby league player to ever play the game. Like, apparently his knowledge and just what he used to do is ridiculous. And to think about all the players that have played our game, that's huge to get. So he's an exception to this rule. I just think some people are starting to get a bit too emotional in terms of, okay, he was a Blues great. He'd be a great coach. It's like Andrew Johns. Okay, he was a great player. There is no way in the world he's a head coach. There is no way in the world. He's good to go in there and probably give him some stories and set him up for a couple of days or something, but he's not the coach. He's not fronting the media. He's not doing all that stuff. And that's where I think actually Billy lost the last series, because Madge had him one up when it came to the media and when it came to handling the spotlight. And it was the first time I've ever seen Billy lose at something. He was actually like, Madge was on the front foot almost every single time, and I felt like Billy wasn't ready for it. So that's the one part I feel like, I don't know. I just don't know who stands out. Oh, honestly, I have no idea. So it'll be interesting, but we'll see what happens, I guess. Last one for the night. Magic Round was released today, so that got everyone a little bit excited, starting to plan all their trips and weekends away. And again, we'll be up there in some sort of capacity, guys. There could be some big news about to be released over the next week or two, so stay tuned. But hoping to put something on as well while we're up there and meet a few of us boys up there, talk some footy and the like as well, which are really, really, really cool, and be just in amongst it and meet all the other creators and stuff like that. Just quickly, the draw. So the Friday night, the two games would be the Sharkies against the Eels, Roosters against the Dolphins. Now, the first team I read out is the home side, or class as the home side. Saturday, the first game, South versus the Knights, Warriors versus Cowboys, Tigers versus Dragons. And then the Sunday is the Titans versus the Dogs, Penrith versus the Broncos, and Storm versus the Raiders. I think that's probably the pick of the days, to be honest, the Sunday. I really like the look of how that Sunday is looking, depending on, I guess, how the Dolphins look. Friday, only being a two-gamer, has potential to be a good little night as well. Last year, I went there on the Friday, and it was actually a fun little night. The crowd gets really into it, I guess. After work, everyone's a bit excited for the weekend ahead. firstly, the draw, boys, your quick thoughts around that in terms of the lineup, the matchups. I've read a few things. I've talked to a few people today. They've sort of downplayed it in a way, but I think there's some decent matchups there. There's some storylines. There's some on paper, like we don't know what's going to happen by this time of the year on ladder wise, but on paper, it looks like there's going to be some decent matchups there in terms of ladder position and closeness. Trav, what are your thoughts around the initial lineup that we get to see?
I'll downplay it. I'm not excited about it at all until Sunday. The Sunday matches, I think I'm frothing at. I'm really high on the Titans and the Bulldogs game. I think the Titans are going to be much better next year with Tino back, so I'm really keen on that. Penrith Broncos, if Broncos pull if Madge makes some magic there, and that'll be a great matchup. And I think Storm Raiders are always a good game. So I'm keen for those Sunday games. I'm not keen at all for the Friday. I think the Sharks Para game is going to be. Well, based on paper, the Sharks are going to own that, and I think the Roosters as you said there, I think the Roosters. If the Dolphins turn up and play potentially to their list that we reviewed in the team review the other day, I think that could be a good game. That's probably my pick of the first two games, and then the Sunday matchups. I think the Saturday ones are disappointing. I think that the NRL stuffed up. And I can't believe their Saturday night premier game is Tigers versus Dragons. Like that to me. That's just going to be a fizzler. Now, watch how many drunk people are going to be there trying to call shit because their borders match with that game. Yeah. So
there'll be a lot of Mexican waves happening during that game and bin snakes, I reckon. Jake, you basically go every year to Magic Round. Has this got you a bit more excited seeing the lineups now, or you're a bit in the Trav camp of okay?
First of all, last year was my first year I ever went.
Oh, okay. Sorry, mate.
No, you're right. No matter. Yeah, no, I have been. It was a really, really good event, and I'm definitely keen to be going again this year. I've already bought my plane tickets, ready to go. I bought it for the Thursday when that first bit came out, so I'll be going up there to actually watch the NRLW as well.
Why?
Yeah, so that'll be pretty good as well. But no, look, I'm excited for it. I think the event handles itself. I think the matchups. I need to re-go through them. Sorry. So yeah, Sharks versus Eels. I think I actually see that being quite a good game. Roosters Dolphins will depend on how I see that being quite a good game as well, because I don't see the Roosters doing as well as they did this year with the amount of injuries that they have. Rabbitohs versus Knights. I think maybe that might be a bit of a snooze fest, to be completely honest with you. Although it depends on how the Rabbitohs are going after being with Wayne Bennett for that point of the time. Warriors Cowboys should be pretty good. Yep, Tigers Dragons. We'll move on past that. One. Titans Bulldogs, like you said, I actually think it's going to be quite a good game with the way that the Titans pack's built, and I think it'll be quite an interesting one. And then Panthers Broncos is going to be probably the game of the round, and then Storm Raiders was a good one. I'm pretty sure they played last time, didn't they? At Magic Round, it was Storm Raiders as well. No, sorry, ignore that. I don't want to talk about it. Ignore that. I don't want to talk about it. No. See, it's always a good game, Raiders versus Storm. So I actually think the matches will take care of themselves, and the fact that the crowd will all be there, sort of revving everyone up. So it'll be a good time. And I'm actually pretty excited for it. I think it's going to be real awesome.
Now I've got a little bit of a bone to pick and a little bit of a chat to generate before we sign off for the pod. The Broncos once again get the away game for Magic Round. I'm actually getting a bit over this now because. I don't want to feed into conspiracies and things like that, but an away game at Suncorp, once again, come on, guys. And people go, first of all, and I'll put something up on the page, it's because Penrith obviously don't have a home ground this year. They're using this as one of their home games. I get that. How convenient is it that they've got the Broncos as their away team? That's convenient. Why can't the Broncos have this as a home game like 7 other clubs do in the NRL? And versus someone else. And then people go, because they'll stack out the stadium because of all the season tickets. No, they won't. Everyone else goes there as the home team, the 7 other teams. That's not part of your membership package. You don't get inclusions of being at Magic Round in your membership. So, no, it wouldn't. That makes no sense either. I have not seen a relevant argument yet that actually it makes me think, okay, that's why the Broncos are continually getting their way. They're doing it because I'm calling it out again. I'm going back to the Brisbane conspiracy. I'm doing it. I rewind what I just said. Conspiracies are coming out. The NRL loves the Broncos. They want them to do well. They need them to do well. Next year is a huge storyline for the Brisbane Broncos. So let's make sure that they play as many games as possible at Suncorp. And they played their most games out of any other team at Suncorp at home last year because they played I think they ended up playing 3 away games at Suncorp. Like, ridiculous. Stop me, boys. Someone please take over because I've lost it.
No, but I agree with you. So how am I supposed to stop you? I think it's ridiculous, and the favoritism that they get is insane. So I don't know. There's nothing I can say that's going to deny that. I agree with you completely. So you stop me.
Sorry, man. Sorry to be a fizzler, but I was pretty loud speaking to a lot of my mates and stuff at this year's Magic round. The Broncos got an away game as well. Like I think it's complete rubbish. What utter garbage. And as you said, let's play with the conspiracy theories. Start reeling them off, Joel, because I think that'll make a good ending to this podcast. Because it's there. It has to be because it's complete rubbish. I mean, right. So you want to talk Penrith have got to play an away game. They've got to play at Broncos for a home game because they don't have a stadium. Well, they do. They've got CommBank for the next 2 years, so they still have a home stadium. And we know that Penrith and the way that they travel. So I don't think it matters. So why couldn't they have played? Why can't they have the home game against the Raiders and put this, and do there's or the home game against Knights, the home game against the Cowboys, the home game against the Dragons, the Dolphins, the bloody Eels. Why couldn't they have done that? Like that doesn't make sense. So I think it's utter garbage. And look, the membership call around that, if it was a home game, they'd have to give the seats to the members. Well, do that. Just don't sell as many Magic Round tickets. Like only allow 3/4 of the stadium to be Magic Round tickets, and here the members, you've got these ones. Like if that's an argument, do that. Who gives a shit?
Okay, it wouldn't work out because you only let them in for the Broncos game and kick him out. They'll stay.
No. Just let them have
work.
Yeah,
but then they're getting 2 extra games in the membership. Like it'll just be a huge.
So what?
But
that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's at Suncorp. Give it to Suncorp for the day. You've got it here. You remember it's happening here. It's going to be here because Magic Round's here. So Brisbane are going to play here. It doesn't matter whether they're home or away. So let it be. Who cares?
So should the Roosters members be allowed to enter the stadium for free Friday night and have a designated seat?
No, they should pay for it.
So that's the same thing with the Broncos. Go in and pay for your ticket. It's not included in memberships. This game is not included.
It's not. I get it. I understand. I'm on the same argument as me. But if that's your argument, then just let him have a few fucking seats. Like I don't. It doesn't make a difference to me. I don't care. Yeah. Like I think it's just rubbish.
We'll sign off with this. The conspiracies are out there. Broncos fans, I'm not trying to hate your team, but honestly, it's just become a joke. Every single year, the amount of away games you get at Suncorp is getting ridiculous. And anyway, that's it. It is. And we know why. Like, they're the darlings. And again, like, they need them to do well. Like, end of the day,
their fans turn up. Their fans turn up to games, so they make money. It makes sense. I get it. But yeah. This is one of those moments that shouldn't happen.
No. That's it, guys. Thank you once again for listening. Hope we've updated you well for what's happened over the week that I'm sure you've already know, but we add a bit of a twist to it and give you our thoughts and things like that. Again, smash that like, subscribe button. Go and visit our social media pages. Give it some love on basically all of them, bar X or Twitter, whatever it's called. But yeah, and same with YouTube viewers. Hit that follow, hit the subscribe, go from there. Trav, Jake, thanks, boys, for being on. That's it for the week, and we're signing off. Keep watching those season reviews, as I have said, and bye for now. Ciao.